Hello, everyone. It's me, Andrew. I'm here in my home in lovely Ligonier, Pennsylvania. It's super hot today. I don't know about y'all, but it's very, very warm here in Pennsylvania. And I looked at the weather for Baltimore. Um, I mean, you can see I'm perspiring or glistening, but I looked at the weather for Baltimore and it's almost 100 degrees there. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Um, I don't know. I kind of have a little bit of a headache too. So I kind of have a feeling that a thunderstorm is going to roll through pretty soon. I don't know if my barometric meteorology is on point or not. Sometimes it's like, is it exhaustion? Is it barometric pressure? Is it sinus allergy type things? I just don't know. All right. So if you're watching, you know what to do. Like and share this video. It's always nice to boost the signal and help get the word out there. All of the analytical people, they say that that really does help. So that's a great way if you want to help show your support for Allegory Gallery. Liking and sharing is caring. Yeah. So what day is it? Today is Thursday. Busy, busy day. I don't know if I've ever said that we've had like a slow day. But today I finished up my virtual class with Ben Cook, uh, Kawa. I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but he did a really wonderful class on enameling on steel through Metalworks. They have some virtual classes. I really admire his work, and he's super, super nice. I've seen him at a couple of the different conferences, like Snag in Providence and at the ECU Symposium down in North Carolina. Super, super nice. So when I found out about that, I applied for a scholarship through them and it came through. So I was super fortunate to be able to take that workshop. And I'm excited to do more enameling on steel. I currently do enameling on copper. But the thing about copper is there's some limitations. And so I want to start doing some more large scale sculptures. And with that in mind, they either become really heavy or they anneal on the kiln, and the weight of the enamel and the copper all kind of makes it slump. So yeah. So working with steel, it's a little bit of a harder metal and you can work in thinner gauges. So once you know like the proper way of working with it and getting it ready, then you can do all kinds of fun things. So I'm super excited about that. I probably won't get a chance to play with that for a little while. I ordered some supplies for that to work with that. So I'm super excited. Tomorrow, I'm headed to Baltimore to take a workshop with Eric Burris, who is going to teach a class on mokumagane, which is a Japanese technique of layering the metal, different kinds of metal, and then creating patterns. I won a scholarship through the Baltimore Jewelry Center, and so I'm going to be going there this weekend. So I'm super excited about that. I would say that if you're in the Baltimore area, you should hit me up. But I kind of have a feeling that it's just going to be like nonstop. So I'm not going to recommend that. Maybe I have to go to outside of Philadelphia right after the class ends on Sunday to pick up our first jewelry bench for the new store in Johnstown. So I'm super excited about that. We are doing everything kind of on a budget, and we uh, So the store hasn't been super busy, so we haven't been able to make as much progress as we would have liked. Um, it's kind of like one of those things where you do what you can do with what you have. And if it was like a normal year, we probably would have already it probably already be open and all that. But since things have been a little bit slower, we've kind of had to save money and put things aside, do things slower, and apply for different grants. And we got a CEA grant, which is going to help us improve our video quality for our YouTube and Facebook, of course, and also to get some jewelry benches. So I'm trying to stretch that money as far as it'll go. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to find some different jewelry benches. And somebody's like, oh, well, you can make your own. And the amount of time and like if I have to buy new equipment and do all this other stuff, at that point, I might as well just buy them ready made, especially if I can find a deal on them. So I found one. We're going to my goal is to have 4 for the opening. Hopefully, we're going to open in September. But, fingers crossed. We'll see if it actually happens or not. It seems far away, but it's not really. And the other thing that we're doing that we did today, William's mom, she helped us out to get all the tires on the van. We had a sale to get the tires, and we were just going to do 2 tires because one of them had been punctured. But she stepped up and helped get the rest of the tires. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying that or not, but thank you if you're watching. We really appreciate that. That means that we'll get the tires done on our little car. So, it's just one of those things where it seems like when it rains, it pours. So, yeah. All right. Let's see who's watching. Harry is watching. Hi, Harry. Norma's watching. Hi, Norma. Marianne's watching. Hi, Marianne. Suzanne is watching. Hi, Suzanne. Oh, and we got a message, an email from Susan Surreal, who is one of our avid watchers and part of our AG Bead fam. And she sent a message and said that one of her cats has gone missing. And so they've been hunting for the cat and trying to track it down. So I'm probably paraphrasing that too much, but that's one of the reasons why she hasn't been online as much. So let's all send that good energy towards her, and hopefully they can find their fur baby, and everybody's happy, healthy, whole, and finds their way back where they need to be. So hopefully send in lots of good juju that way. All right. I see a couple more folks have tuned in. Sandra's watching, and I saw somebody else pop up, but the comments jumped. So, anyways, Suzanne says good energy sent. Good. Yeah, I've known her virtually. I've never met her in real life, at least not to my knowledge. But I knew her from before we had the store. So I used to have my blog, and she was probably one of my first people, one of my first supporters. I had this little tiny store. It's so funny because when I first started out, I could take my online store and it would fit in a shoebox. And I had this little suitcase that I think was an old typewriter. I don't know. It was some kind of hard suitcase, and I could fit all of my online store offerings in this tiny little suitcase, and the shipping supplies too. So, beads are small, but I had maybe like less than 100 items at any given point. And if I had more than that, they could all fit like in a bag. So I used to sell things like that. And now when I look at what we have for sale, not only is the store, overflowing with stuff, and I see stuff new every time I go in there. Um, it's one of those things where you think you know where everything is, and you're like, oh, but even I could go in there, and even William talks about going in there, and he's there way more than I am. And he's like, yeah, I see something new every time. And just depending on the day or where your eye level's at, or if we've rearranged or cleaned something, new things like pop out each time. So it's kind of a surprise. And but so that's a physical store, and then we have the online store, and it does not fit in a little tiny child suitcase anymore. Um, it takes up a whole room. Well, maybe like half of a room to be well. Um, I guess it does take up a whole room. If I condense everything down, we probably could fit it in half the size of the room, but it fills up the whole room. And yeah, so we've been growing, getting grown, y'all. Marianne says, I hope they find their cat. Some of these comments, I click on it, oh, there it goes. And then it like jumps to the next one. Cheryl's watching. Howdy, Cheryl. And Kay's watching. Hey, Kay. Seems like it's been a while. Yeah. So we got the tires changed today on the minivan. We're gonna wait a little bit until we kind of recoup some cash after this weekend, and I get back to do the little car. And like it's one of those things where we have one of us has to like drive behind the other person, and drive the other person back and this and that. So it takes both of us. So that took a chunk of time out today to do that. So I did my class this morning. We did the tires. Started looking at the Airbnbs and the hotels for the Baltimore trip. William wanted to come. I want to go to the Visionary Arts Museum, which is a really cool kind of outsider art museum. I've only gone once before, but it was really amazing. And at the time, I had wished that I had taken more time to spend there, but I was kind of hanging out with my friend who's going to Micah. And I actually almost went there. Fun trivia fact. But then I was like, New York City or Baltimore? And then I decided to go to the School of Visual Arts. So that was a fun and an interesting kind of branch in the road. I sometimes think about things like that. It's like, what if I had decided to go here instead of there? And I don't know. You never know. Paula's watching. Hey, Paula. Okay, says it has been a while. I've been so busy with summer school things with my teens. Oh, or my teen. Oh, good. Well, that's good. That's good. I always like, sometimes if we don't see somebody for a while, I'll check in on them. But I always like to hear that people are busy for like good things. I get sad when people are busy for like sad things. So I'd rather you all be busy with too much living to do as opposed to like the sad times. Lorraine's watching. Hey, Lorraine. Right. So I'm going to be kind of quick for me. I'm going to try to be quick for me because I have a lot to do before we leave. I always like to, whenever I go on a road trip, I like to clean the car out so that it's nice and fresh and everything smells good. I like to take out any kind of junk in the junk in the trunk, even though the minivan doesn't really have a trunk. And I like to start fresh. So I don't want to do that tomorrow because it's supposed to be like 100 degrees and raining. And I don't really want to do that before I go on the road. That seemed like stressful to me. So what I'm gonna do is try to do it tonight. We already started unloading the car, and I got some beads. I don't know if people are gonna be interested in them. Some of them are a little bit like weird, and I like them, but they are kind of odd. So anyway, we'll see if people like those. It's gonna probably take a while for us to go through everything because I had found it through an auction. There was this really cool bead making business here in Pennsylvania at one point, and uh, somebody had collected all this stuff when the factory closed in the 80s, and it has been sitting in somebody's attic or garage or whatever. And so I picked it up, and that I was super delighted. I mean, some of it's a little bit like, um, I don't want to say childcraft, but some of it is definitely geared towards, the plastic pony bead vibe, which, I don't have a problem with. Some people are like, oh, I hate that. That's like too, too much of too fun. And it's like, well, maybe we need more fun in our lives. I don't know. So anyways, I see more people have tuned in. That's nice. I appreciate that. It's always nice when people, it seems like sharing and caring is working.
Hello.
William's here.
Just got back.
Barbara's watching. Hi, Barbara. Okay, so same here, Andrew. I try to stay busy with good things and not dwell on the things beyond my control. Yeah, that's a good life philosophy. Suzanne says, I like weird. I think you might like some of there are some really wonkadoodle, like ceramic rooster beads that are hollow form and like zoo animals and stuff. So it's super kitschy, but in that kind of delightful, um, I don't know. I don't know how to describe that. It's super kitschy. Some of the stuff is, anyways. I see a couple more folks have tuned in. Thanks so much again for sharing. We really appreciate that. It does help. Kay says Baltimore is a neat city. I went a long time ago and enjoyed it so much. People were super nice. Yeah, I haven't been for a while. There used to be a show that went through there, and I remember doing this one show, and I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and like nobody came to that show, so I don't know if like a bomb went off or something. I don't know, but there was one show and nobody came, and it was kind of like everybody was stressing out, but it ended up turning out okay. But it was still like at first we were all like, where are the people? But I've also gone to shows there where it was super, super slam. So you never know. We went to, they moved a fairy convention there, which is super fun. Um, but it used to be in Philadelphia and then it went to Baltimore. I don't know if they're still doing that. I know they're trying to revive. COVID really threw a wrench in a lot of those like in-person events. Um, and so I know they're trying to do that again in like Seattle because that's where it like started. But yeah, so we'll see. Because that was fun. I thought that was fun. I got to hang out with like some of my favorite urban fantasy authors and like Brian Froud and Wendy Froud and people who like I grew up admiring so much, which is kind of plays in nicely with the second part of this video today. Because I'm going to do a fast seed bead project, and then we're going to do a creature feature, and I'm going to show you how to make an armature for some sculptures, and it'll be super It's like the down and dirty way of making an armature. It's not, if you're thinking that we're going to do like, I don't know, soldering and different things like that, and animatronics and all that kind of stuff, this is not that. So if that's what you're thinking, I normally say stop watching, but our numbers have kept going down. So I'm going to say keep watching. Keep watching, and then criticize my work quietly to yourself. Don't share with the class, y'all. It's making me get these little marks right here. I'm getting them. I need to get that good poison juice injected. Anyways, before I digress, I'm like, this is gonna be super fast. I'm gonna have to do like, I don't know. That just like popped up, and I was like, oh no. Sylvia says, just joining this live. Who will be taking care of Barnaby and others while you're on the road? William will be. That's because
why I can't go.
He wanted to go, but he can't go. In theory, we probably could. Our neighbor across the street is super awesome, and she like gets gold star forever. And she's been awesome with Barnaby and Gilbert. However, we have the kittens now, and that complicates things because they have a different kind of feeding schedule than the big kids. And so it's a little, that's a little bit of a harder ask. Yeah. And then you're like, can you scoop poop for 6 different containers? That would be a no. I can just feel that. That's a hard pass. I'm not going to speak for our neighbor, but I would be like, maybe something different. Diane's watching. She says, hi all. I've been watching for a bit. I was feeding the dogs. I'm getting ready to eat dinner now. Oh, good. That's another thing that we have to figure out is what we're going to have for dinner.
I have subs and pizzas from the fundraiser.
Oh, good. He has subs and pizzas from the fundraiser.
Supporting our nephew.
Our nephew is selling things for sports. It jumped, so I got kind of lost here. A lot of people are saying hi, William.
Hello, everybody.
Suzanne says, I'll take the rooster beads for sure. Well, they are. I thought of you when I saw them.
Yeah, show them what I made.
Oh, he wants to do show and tell also.
Show them what I
made. All right. There's this.
I made those.
William made this in his class. And it's kind of like a speckledy, like an egg.
It's 2 different glazes. The underglaze, there's one glaze. I shouldn't say underglaze because that's a thing too. There's one glaze and then the other glaze put on top. And we thought that the top glaze was going to drip and run. So we only did it halfway. And then it did not drip and run at all. So I could have done the whole thing.
So there's this one. Here, take it.
Get it out of the way. You don't have much room over there.
I've been spreading out, y'all. Don't worry. So he also did this one.
These are some of my first pieces.
They look good.
Around. It's like only the second set to get. I have a lot more waiting to be glazed.
Don't look at this one too hard because I already claimed it. I was like, oh, so small. I also like that cylindrical one because that looks like it can hold my brushes and pens and stuff.
I'll make you a taller one. You might need a taller one.
You can test it out. I'm going to put requests. I'm going to design stuff and send it with it. It'd be like his homework. So good job, William.
Thanks.
Are you going to your class tonight?
Yeah.
No.
There's no real class tonight.
It's a work session.
It was, yeah, and I got behind, so no.
He got behind, so no, he's not gone. Amanda says, I go 8 for animal beads. Oh, good. I know you were looking for a certain animal, and I've had an eye out. Sometimes I get emails, and people are like, I would like this, and sometimes I don't find things right away. But I always keep an eye out for it. And it's probably not a good thing that I keep adding things into my mind that I have to keep an eye out for. but I've got an eye out for a lot of stuff. And if you ever are interested in anything and you don't see it in our online store, definitely email us at info@allegorygallery.com, and that will add to my list of things to keep an eye out for, but in a good way, because that helps pay our mortgage. So I'm not going to complain. Harry said, I fired the kiln today with the new cat angel, mom rabbit, and a bull, and 10 figures. Woo, that's a lot of stuff. Good job. Our friend Lennon, she got one of your cat angels. I know. I don't. Did we have one of the cat angels or one of the witch cats? I think one of the witch cats.
I can't remember now because we got a cat angel from someone else, and that's in my brain now. My friend Becca got us that.
Suzanne says, do not visit Edgar Allan Poe's grave by yourself. Why? Is it like you get creeped out? Is it haunted? Is it going to be like we're going to be like reciting Annabelle? Didn't you write a book called Annabelle, Lee? Am I making stuff up? I know the famous one is Quote the Raven.
I don't remember Annabelle Lee. I could be wrong though.
I don't know. I read so much that basically it's like water that flows through my brain. Suzanne says, I saw some of your items, Harry. Very nice. Good job. And then Marianne also wants to know what's up with Edgar Allan Poe's grave. And then Amanda's like, is it haunted? I'm like, oh, if it's haunted, I definitely have to go. Kay says that there's a fairy festival in Chicago. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. And this kind of plays well into a segue into our summer of fantasy. If you don't know what that is, we do a month of beading prompts every year at the start of the year in January. But one of the things that we kind of noticed is that people kind of get to the summer and their kind of New Year's resolutions have like worn off, and they kind of hit the doldrums. And whether that's the heat, I don't know, people busy doing traveling, kids out of school, I don't know. But it seems like people's creative mojo kind of gets blocked up. And so we decided to do a mid-year beat in the new year, and it's called Summer Fantasy. And you don't necessarily have to go whole hog cosplay, fairy festival, fairy queen diva style, but unless you want to. If you want to, go on ahead, feel free, embrace that, own it, live it, or not. So the prompts are kind of open-ended where you can take them in different directions. And I've been trying to do little tutorials that kind of, because I've been doing more lives lately. You may have noticed. I used to only do once a week, and now it's like 80 times a week. So I've been trying to do some that kind of correspond with some of the prompts to hopefully get people's creative juices flowing even more and inspire people to keep going. So the Summer of Fantasy is happening right now. Today's prompt is to work with amber. I have lots of amber. I have it in big pieces, little pieces, beads, specimens, but it's not here. And so we have all that stuff at the cottage. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to go to the cottage. And then
I just got back home.
Yeah, we're like this. Ships passing in the daylight. Normally ships passing in the night, but he's asleep and I'm up over here working. Anyway, so I luckily have some beads that are amber colored. So that's what we're going to be using on today's tutorial part, is amber colored beads. And if you wanted to do this with amber beads, I don't think you would have very good success because there's a lot of like some geometry that happens. And it's a seed beading project, y'all. So another seed beading project. I know your favorite. Oh, Suzanne said that it may be haunted, but it's in a not so nice neighborhood. Well, you know. And cases, why would anyone criticize your work? Your stuff is crazy creative. Oh, well, thanks. Amanda says, AG Design Challenge has not come up on my Facebook feed for a while. Do you know why? Am I banned? I don't know.
Who's that?
Amanda said that.
Amanda?
I don't know. I don't think so, unless you were posting porn.
If you haven't liked or commented in a while too, that might be why Facebook takes it away from you if you don't like and comment often enough.
Did you hear that, Amanda? We did do a change to the group. So previously, we had it open for everyone, free for all, and we were getting so many spam things with fake celebrity deaths and Temu and Sheen and shoes and all kinds of stuff. And we have to protect our people, right? So we don't want anybody to get like, bankrupted from whatever or inconvenienced by any kind of scam. So we had to turn on post moderation. As people have been posting, we have been pre-approving people who post regularly. If you're new to the group or you don't post very often and we don't recognize your name, we haven't done pre-approval for that, and it doesn't always come up for everyone, and I don't know why.
She's still in the group.
You're still in the group, William said. So, I don't know. Start smashing that like button.
I just pre-approved her post too.
Oh, he said he pre-approved your post. Cindy's watching. Hey, Cindy. Suzanne says, I have to look for it too. Yeah.
Suzanne posted today. I think I just pre-approved her for future posts too.
Oh, good. It jumped again. Oh, Susan said that if we need her, she'll scoop litter every day. Well, that's a true sign of friendship.
That's for sure.
Because I don't know if y'all know this, but I have a slight poop phobia. And so I will not be offering that.
He's never scooped the cat litter.
I have, but I had to dig deep with the inner strength. And I had to put the essential oils into the thing, and I wrapped it around my face because if I get a little bit of that whiff of fecal matter, then I start dry heaving, and then sometimes real heaving.
No.
And so, just so you know,
you don't need that,
William. And then also, we made a deal. When we first moved here, we were like, oh, we should get cats. And I was like, I like cats, but I don't like having to scoop the poop. And he was like, well, I will do it. I'll scoop the poop forever. Barney's thinking about it. He's like, oh, that's why he does it. So you make a deal, it's going to stick with it. That's the way. If you offer that, you're gonna have it forever for as long as you want, at least.
As long as you want.
And then some. Suzanne says, "Wow, a coffee cup! I love it for your piece." And then Susan said, "Great job, William." And then Amanda says, "That's so cool, William."
Thank you.
And Norma says, I love that glazing, William.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
These are very heavy bottom.
William, if you didn't hear, he said that they're heavy bottomed.
That one is.
So they're not going to tip over. That's good.
Right.
Though I did one time, I almost fecal mattered myself.
What?
Where I was going to reach. Okay, so we were at somebody else's house, and I don't know about y'all, but I get like horror ideas in my mind if I do something bad at somebody else's house. Anyways, so I went to reach and pick up a cup, and it was significantly heavier than I thought it was, but I had that forward momentum and it almost fell. And then I had like the spidey senses, and I reached and grabbed it, I snatched it out of the air before it could smash onto the concrete floor. And that I had the feeling of imminent trouble times, but luckily I didn't have to have an accident and shame myself even more. So, anyways, Sylvia says, William, those are lovely. And Cheryl says, those are gorgeous.
Thank you.
And Lorraine says, really nice, William.
Thank you.
You're getting all the love, William.
Good. I need it.
Why do you need it?
He says, why do you need it?
You have to share,
Says, what about
William.
me?
Amanda said, that sounds so fun, Harry. Did you post the AG Design Challenge Facebook? Suzanne said that Annabelle Lee's a poem. And Diane says, it's a poem, and my car is named Annabelle Lee after it. See, I didn't make stuff up. Kind of made stuff up.
That poem.
And Harry says, that was a poem. My favorite of his was The Valley of Unrest. That's like me, unrest all the time. All right. Let me try to skip down to so that we catch up. I see Teresa's watching. Hey Teresa. Michelle's watching. Hey Michelle. And then let's see. I'm gonna just skip. Sorry, y'all. If I missed any of your comments, sorry. All right. So I'm gonna flip the camera around, and what I'm gonna do, so you don't have to see the ceiling, is I'm gonna push this button, and you're not gonna see anything, but you're hopefully gonna hear the sound of my voice continuing. Can you hear the sound of my voice? And then I'm gonna do all of this while the screen is black. And there you go. Nice. So you can see my junk pile. All right. So I got a lot of stuff, y'all. All right. So I finished up. I'm just like, push.
Nice.
Perfect. He'll be the vacuum cleaner. I can hear it now. It's going to be. All right. So I finished up these earrings. They're not really, in hindsight, they're not as wing-like as they could be. But I finished those up, the matching set. So we did that on, what day did we do that? Was it Tuesday?
Do what?
The
wings, I think it was Tuesday, because that's when I was off.
Okay, because on Monday we did the sea glass and mermaid glass. If you need some, watch that video after this one, because we still have a bunch more.
I think there's one or two people I have an email from that I need to do yet.
Did you all hear that? that he has one or two more people to invoice and check stuff. We've just been running around like crazy. And then his class ran late and he has to do an errand. And I think we started eating dinner at 12:35 last night.
12 or 12:30 last night.
And I did we watch a show last night?
We started watching Ben.
Oh, I caught up on my class because the first day I got in that class a wee bit late. So I had to catch up so that I would be fresh and ready for today. That feels so long ago. And that was just literally like 12 hours ago.
These days are like.
Anyway, so we did these. Hopefully you'll like them. I mean, I made these. I speak like I'm in the royalty, the royal we. And then yesterday I showed how to make this. I finished this up off camera because this part kind of takes a little bit longer. But it's a feather one. So this will be a feather component. You know, it's a stylized feather. And of course, you can add patterns to this if you need to add patterns. You know, if you want to do like an ombre, you can do like an ombre. And then what else did I do? Oh, here's this. These are going out soon too. We just got them the little sleeves in the mail.
Oh, is Ann Schroeder watching?
I don't know. I don't think so. I know she was doing a class.
Because she questioned about one of those.
About what?
It was a shipping thing.
Oh.
I'm just going to tell her it'll be on its way.
Yeah, we were waiting for the sleeves to arrive.
Her order accidentally marked it as shipped, and she said, I didn't get it.
Oh.
So if that happened to anybody else, let me know.
Yeah. I don't know anything about this. So, anyways, the sleeves just arrived. So, we're sending these out as not tomorrow because she shipped today.
Yeah, she's her other job asked her to work tomorrow and Saturday. So, Monday.
So, they'll go out on Monday. Do you know if the painting for Debbie Kirkpatrick went out? Oh, good.
I'm pretty sure. I gave it to her and she said she was going to ship it.
Okay, so those are available. I think we have like 20 more of these, and they're not all the same. They're similar. They're very similar, but they're slightly different. So they're not like there's dots, like there's rainbow dots, and there's not all the dots are not the same, y'all. They're not the same. So, anyways, so then after that, we didn't do sequins. So I tried to do a jump start. I was gonna do sequins on this, and I was gonna make like a swirl pattern with the sequins. And then I was like, I don't like these gold sequins. So I tried to do a project that I like the gold sequins. And so I did this circular brick stitch, and I don't like the gold sequins, y'all. But it's too late now. I'm not going to redo it because it looks so nice like this. Oh my gosh, looks so good. And then I added the gold sequins and it looks like a pinata's eyeball. I don't know. You know what it kind of looks like? I'm probably not allowed to say that, but it looks like a pasty. So if people want to start a beaded pasty, I don't think it'd be very effective, but there you go. You can make custom ones depending on sizes and stuff. Anyway, so I like this side better. So maybe I'll just flip it that side. Anyway, so that's a way that you can use the sequins if you have prettier sequins. I just think that like I love gold. Y'all know I love gold, but that shade of gold is not doing it for me. I don't know. I need to do something to it to tone down that kind of I don't know. Anyway, so that's a thing that I did. And then also this is more of that circular brick stitch, and this is the picot stitch on the ends of these little things. So it makes almost like a little wheel of the year. And I thought this was super cute. I love making these little circles. They're just so once you get it down, then you just keep making them. It's like those potato chips. Once you start, it's hard to stop. All right. So for today's project, we're going to need some beading thread. I need to get some more because I've been seed beading my brains out, and I'm almost out. So I'm gonna put that on William's shopping list. He can run down to the store and pick me up some more. I have some Nymo and stuff, but I kind of like having the thermally bonded thread. Normally, I would do this in like the smoke color, but this is in crystal, and this is like a 6 pound crystal. And then we'll need our beading needle. We're going to need 4 of these kind of root beer colored seed beads. These are a size 6. I'm going to pick these up, and then I'm going to walk this down to kind of the end. I'm going to give myself a 4 to 5 inch tail, and then I'm going to tie a knot and bring them all together in a little circle in a loop. And so I've tied that knot, and see how it makes that kind of equal arm cross or a flower. And then I'm going to tie another knot just so that it's nice and secure. And then these have ample holes, so I'm going to do one more. I'm going to wrap it around twice for luck, and then pull it down. Have you all been listening to this month's audio, or I guess reading? You can read it if you're actually going to read, if you read books. I listen to audiobooks while I'm working, and I'm listening to our current book club selection, When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. And one of the characters, she ties knots and everything. And I'm like, oh, maybe that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to take this needle. And if you've watched any of my tutorials, we don't want to start working right where the knot is. So we're just going to work our way around real quick. And then we're going to start our design not in that spot. All right, so I've got this kind of right angle weave action happening. I'm going to pick up one of the silver lined amber colored or topaz colored bead, and I'm going to go into the next bead. And I'm going to pick up another of the silver lined amber beads and go into the next spoke of that right angle weave. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up another one and repeat that. The trickiest part on this is keeping that tail kind of out of the way. All right, and then I'm going to do it one more time to finish off that little section. All right, so once I have gone all the way around adding these little amber colored beads, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step up to the next row. So if my thread's coming out here, right here, I'm going to go into this bead. So I'm going to go right in through here, and there you go. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 3 of these silver lined amber beads. All right, I'm going to go through here, go back through. So my thread is coming out this side, and I'm going to go back through on the other side right here. And that's going to make its own little equal arm cross solar flare action. And then I'm going to go, this is going to be loose. So remember why I say you all have to have a little bit of faith when you're making these CB projects, because at first they want to kind of walk around and do their own thing. They're like, I do what I want. Whatever.
Who they take after.
Paolo. All right. So the next thing, so the thread's coming out here, and I want to get up here. So I'm going to go through this little root beer colored bead, and that will help cinch up. Oop, I got tangled up a little bit. But before, that's one of those things where if you go too fast, then you kind of get trouble. And then go through this amber colored bead, and then you're just going to repeat what we just did in the last step, except hopefully not getting it caught up on the other stuff, which is trying to do now. I said, get out the way. What you trying to do? All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is pick up 1, 2, 3 of those amber color beads, and I'm going to go through that one. And I'm going to come over here like so, go up through that root beer bead that's next to it, that next arm, and repeat. And then go up through here, add 3 beads, go back through it. This one is super fast, so I'm kind of slowing it down because I'm showing you how to do it, but it's super fast. These, depending on the colors you use, they make super great Christmas gifts for people because you can work this up in like a flash, y'all. Now, I like to use the size 16 beads because they have great big ample holes, and I think that that's helpful and useful. And so I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3 and complete the circuit. So basically, I'm just turning this around, and as I go, I'm able to do that. So I've completed this, and the next step here is I'm going to go up through this root beer colored bead, and then go back up into that bottommost amber colored, silver lined amber color bead right here. I'm going to go through that. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, once I'm over here, this is really wavy gravy style right now, which is cool. You can do stuff with it if you want. You know, you can make little caps for beads if you want. You can sew that up and make a little cube. Super cute. But we're not doing that. So that's another time, another place. So what I'm going to do is pick up one size 8 AB finish, AB finish size 8 topaz bead, light topaz bead. And then I'm going to pick up one S word crystal. What? And then one, and this is a crystal 4mm bicone. And then one of the size 8 AB finish seed beads. All right. So I've got one size 8 S word crystal and another size 8, 8O. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here to here. So the thread's coming out this side. I'm just going to go and push this in like so. And you're going to have to do a little squeezing, but you see how that kind of fills in that kind of gap? That is to make this shape more stable. So I'm just going to move those size 8s because they're kind of off on their own, doing their own thing. I'm going to move these a little bit closer to my work area, and then I'll be able to like pop this out a lot quicker. And then I'll get my other bicones. And all I do, I'm working in kind of like a cardinal direction business, northeast, south, and west. And I'm just going to go around my cardinal points, adding these in between them. So this is coming out right here. So I'm going to go up here. Kind of press that in there into shape. I'm going to pick up one size 8.0, one bicone, and one size 8.0. Now, one thing that so crystal, I love crystals. I know that they get kind of a bad rap now because of some of their business choices, but I have a soft spot for them. They're blingy. I have a soft spot for the bling. And yeah, so I still like to use them. And plus, I have a bunch of them and I want to use them and they look cool and nice. So um, yeah, if you need some of these, I believe we have some in the store, the physical store. We don't have them in the online store. S word crystals.
Yes.
We have a bunch of different sizes, shapes, and colors. A lot of vintage stuff.
4mm, I think, and 5mm bicones.
Which is what I'm using today.
Scarabs.
There's other shapes too. All right, so I'm going to pick up another one of these size 8.0, and then I'm going to pick up another one of the bicones, and then I'm going to pick up another 8.0, and then I'm going to go through here. All right. I like them. So, anyways, so one of the things, what I was talking about is I don't sometimes like to use them in my seed bead work. And the reason why I don't like to use them in my seed bead work is that sometimes um, if you don't buffer your crystal beads, sometimes the facets on the crystals can cut your thread. So I've seen a lot of really beautiful designs, and then I've also seen people pick those designs up and they basically just fall apart because of the friction of the thread on the crystal. And they create weak spots, and it was weak to begin with and even more weak after it's been rubbed with something sharp. So when they have that like hostage situation and the person, they get their hands tied with like the zip tie or like the rope and stuff, and then they like rub it on the dull butter knife for like 10 hours and then eventually it comes loose. That's what happens if you don't buffer them. So that's why I put the 8.0 on either side of those, and that will help protect it. All right. So I've come around, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk my thread up through the 8.0 and one of the Swarovski, or one of the S word crystal. I got caught, y'all. Hopefully I don't take down this video. And so I have the one of the 8.0 and one of the crystal beads. And then I'm going to pick up a 15, size 15. And then I'm going to go through this amber bead or amber colored bead, size 6 amber bead. And then I'm just going to basically put a size 15 in between all of the wherever there's kind of like uh, an elbow. I don't know if that's a good way of saying that. Wherever there's kind of like a notch, I'm going to fill in that notch. So in between this 6.0 and this 6.0, I'm going to go and put that size 15. And that's going to kind of soften the edge of this. It's going to have a nicer, smoother transition. And also, even though we've put some stuff, it's still pretty wavy gravy. So this is going to help solidify things and make it a little bit more sturdy. So I'm going to pick up another 15. Oh, And then I'm going to go from here into this one right here. And then I'm going to pick up a 15-0 and go in between this and this S-word crystal. And then I'm going to take this 15 and go from this S-word crystal into this size 6 seed bead. And I'm going to pick up a size 15. And basically, I'm just going around and around and around and doing the same thing on all sides. And I'm putting these in wherever there's kind of that empty spot. And that kind of smooths out that transition between the different elements. And it also creates a little bit more structure. I think I just said that, but in different words, but it's still true. All right. And I'm going to do it again. One more time. Actually, it's going to be 2 more times. What is that?
What song is that?
I don't know. Teletubbies.
No.
Again. So yeah, this is so easy. All you have to do is just go around and around and around, and eventually it's like a merry-go-round. Eventually it'll stop. So I'm just continuing around, adding these size 15s wherever there's kind of an empty spot. So we are almost all the way around, getting there. And then, you know how when they do, it's called like working off the hump? I didn't make that up. That's a thing, right? In ceramic.
Definitely is.
And so I kind of feel like that is what this project is. I cut off way too much thread, but that's okay. All right, I've come to a full circle moment. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put that in there, make sure that everything kind of goes where it's supposed to, adjust the tension, pull it a little bit tight, make sure that everything's kind of together. And then I'm going to do a half hitch knot and or an anchor knot and then tie it off. What? Not 16 hours worth of 2 hours worth of watching me do the same fringe technique over and over again? Holy cow, what is this? Who am I? I don't know. All right, so I always like to end with a couple of knots, and that way it will make it a little bit more sturdy, and also it will make it so that if it pulls on one spot, it's not going to all come apart. You've got that kind of buffer. Now, this is what I normally don't use a thread zapper. And, one of the reasons why I don't use a thread zapper is I'm one of those people who is chronically without batteries. I'm always looking for batteries. So, I don't usually use a thread zapper because I never have batteries. But this is a great opportunity for that because you can get really close into the like nooks and crannies. Or if you have a really sharp scissors, I'm going to try to use these because earlier I did a sample and it was like I did not get in there really close and you could see it. It looked kind of like a little bit wild. So I'm just trimming off my threads that I've worked in, and I've got this component. And so if you want to use this for knot earrings, go ahead, use it. You can make a bunch of these, and then make this into like a bracelet. Make more than a bunch and put them in a row and then stitch them together. Maybe put something in between, one of these ones in between or something. Maybe one of those root beer. So you bring that color around. Or case that would be pretty with a tassel hanging from it. You have to have a tiny tassel because this is not huge, but you could definitely embellish it if you wanted to. What I'm gonna do is I've got this jump ring. It's a in theory there's a calipers over here. How big a jump ring you think this is?
Which one? Maybe
10.
8 or 10.
I don't know how big this is. Anyways, you want to get one that's not super duper small, and you also want to make sure that the gauge of wire that you're going to use is not crazy. 8 is not going to be super thick, because if you have a super thick jump ring, it's not going to work. And if you have a super small jump ring, it's going to rub, and then the friction's not going to be your friend. You want it to have a free and easy movement. Now, I've got my ear wire, and you can use whatever ear wire you like, but I love these lever back ear wires because they're like, you will not get lost. Thou shalt not pass. And I'm going to slip this in through one of the size 6 seed beads, one of the cardinal points. You want to get one that's not plugged up with one of those 15s. Sometimes that can happen as you adjust your tension. And then close up this jump ring. Now these are super lightweight, and you don't necessarily have to worry about the weight kind of pulling. So I would not suggest soldering this because you'll melt your thread and then it will just fall apart. So, but if you are concerned, I don't know how you could do that without having an open jump ring. I was like, maybe you could do it like this. I guess if you were like super duper wanting this to be closed, I don't know. You put the seed bead and then you do like a micro weld or something. I don't have that. I don't have a micro torch yet.
What was that pause and those eyes at me?
I don't have a permanent jewelry thing. But anyway, so here, Magic of TV. What? I actually made something before?
What?
Holy smokes,
What
y'all.
are you doing?
Who am I?
Wild.
I have energy and
You finally stayed up long enough to work.
I'm delirious. How do y'all like that? So this is the amber star beads. And I think they're fun. They're not amber, but the color amber. So that's my kind of sneaky way of doing that. If you do decide you want to make your own pair or you want to make your own components and you do it, this is super easy. And a lot of the beads are common beads. They're not anything that you like really like rare and hard to find stuff. So Marianne says, "Are you sure you're Andrew?" I know. What? You mean I'm not gonna have to finish this off camera? All right. What do y'all think? Do y'all like that or look like garbage? I like it. So keeper. What? I can actually photograph it. I have to like hoard it until I find the right clasp. I still have things I'm trying to find the right clasp for. All right. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're moving on. Hold on tight. You're all gonna get the whiplash. We're gonna do a segue. So let's do something a little bit different. Let's do some sculpture. How about it? Now I use this technique for a lot of the sculpture that I make. And I'm going to raise up the camera so that you can actually see stuff. And it's growing this mess. I've been trying to clean it up as I go. So one of the things that you need sometimes when you're making a sculpture is an armature. If you work with polymer clay and you don't use an armature and you do a large scale sculpture, what will happen when you put it in the oven, it'll start off like this, and then by the time it gets in the oven, the clay actually softens before it hardens. So when it's in the oven, the heat will make the clay soft and it'll go and it will look sad, like it fell down slowly. Like it got the heat stroke and is like laying down very slowly. So that's less than ideal. So using an armature is kind of like reinforcing your sculpture with a skeleton. It's also a really great way of uh, building musculature for your projects, posing things for your projects, and also reducing the amount of material that you have to use. One of the things about some of the materials is sometimes it's expensive, and if you have to do a big sculpture and you're spending a lot of money on different kind of clays and stuff or whatever you're covering it in, it can add up. So the armature is a great way of building up bulk, but not keeping, but keeping the price down and also keeping it affordable. So that's another good reason to add armatures to. You better get my little egg cup because his tail will. Gilbert, he's gonna claim he's gonna be like he's gonna prove a point, y'all. Anyway, so an armature is also really great if you want to keep things lightweight, which is what we're doing today. So for me, sometimes if I use all polymer or all epoxy putty or all something else, it can get real heavy, and uh, it's not necessarily the most comfortable thing to work with. So there's a lot of ways that you can do this. This is one of the ways that I do it. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll start off with a wire frame and then build up my armature that way. But for this armature, I raided the pantry and I got some aluminum foil. And sometimes what I do is if I have aluminum foil and I have it and I put it on top of something so that it doesn't get too brown. You know how sometimes you put a piece of aluminum foil to stop the browning on something. It doesn't actually touch the food, but it keeps it. It's like a tent. I also sometimes if I'm like baking something and there's not food and like sticking to it, I'll reuse this. Or if somebody's like covering something like a covered dish that doesn't have a lid, I'll repurpose that aluminum foil so it doesn't end up in a landfill. Um, and since it's an armature, it's on the inside. Now, if it's like super crusty and it's got like all kinds of food residue and stuff on it, maybe skip that one, get something else. It's not that expensive. And so what I do is I loosely crumble it. All right. Done. Pretty much. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take another sheet off. And you kind of wrap it. Now, I don't want to compress it completely down. Have you seen that meme thing going around where people, They don't have anything else to do in their life. So they take the aluminum foil and they crunch into a ball, and then they like hammer it until it's like perfectly smooth, and then they like polish it and it's like a perfectly round orb of aluminum. Have you seen that? It's pretty wild. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to kind of bunch it up like this. I'm going to make some nubbins. And I'm going to kind of twist this. I'm not compacting it too tight. If I want to, I can, but the goal is to keep this light and airy. So I don't want, I'm keep retaining as much volume as possible. But if I need to, I can compress this down and really shape it. All right. I'm gonna, I don't have a drink, my throat. Maybe. I'm almost done. What? I'm gonna fold this in half. And then you can also twist it. If you need to twist it, you can twist it. So right now, it doesn't look like very much. You're not getting that A for swamp folding. You know how I don't know if y'all remember this or were a part of this, but I used to think that if they made the takeout, like the leftovers, what do you call that when you're done with the food? Is it takeout or leftovers?
Yeah, but
What's that word for that? The carry out? I don't know. Whatever that is when you're done with the meal, and then they put it in a swan. That's like the pinnacle of highfalutin fancy. So anyway, you can tell that I was reared up at a certain time period. Now, when you are when you have these pieces and they're kind of loosely attached like this, they're not going to hold. So you kind of have to place this in a way that you can wrap it and it will be covered in the whole thing. All right. And if it pops through, like if it gets a hole, that's fine. You can actually cut it or make an indent, and it will allow that to conform a little bit better. And you're using the aluminum foil to hold itself. So this, like with most sculpting or painting or things like that I'm doing, I start with a general form, and work towards the specific. All right. And I want this to have eyeballs, so I'm gonna just press my fingers in, and it's really malleable, y'all. It's really malleable. And it says doggy bag. All right. And so it's really malleable, so you can easily sculpt this with your hands and really compress it down if you want to. Again, I want to keep some of that light and airiness, so I'm not going to push too hard and continue to shape it. All right, so there's a shape. And then Oh my gosh, y'all. My cheater way is take this painter's tape and cover your sculpture or your armature. So you don't want to put too much. So I kind of wrap part of it and then I wrap another part. Now, if I have a weird spot where this tape is bending a lot, sometimes what I'll do is I'll tear it down the middle, and then that way it will help. You can either wrap it around something like this, or if you need to get in between all these beads, it's sticking to all the beads, you just wrap this around, and if this is kind of getting in the way, just tear it in around, and you can help make this conform to your shape. You want it to be kind of smooth because I'm not actually going to be doing too much more to this. Sometimes if I'm doing a larger scale, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put paper mache over top of it or something like that, and then put paper mache clay. I use the ultimate paper mache clay recipe, and that way I don't spend all my money on you know, resin or silicone. Or somebody was like, how come you don't use the taxidermy foam? I was like, because that stuff is expensive. And they're like, you could just easily do that with this product that costs $200 a quart. And I was like, maybe somebody can. Maybe they do that on Star Trek when they have a budget of more than $10. So this is how you kind of make that. You just wrap this around. If you have a little like a nubbin, you can take and fold this over the top of that little nubbin. And then when you wrap the tape around it, it will be nice and smooth. And then this is a thicker tape, so I just tear it into smaller strips. Cases, I used Celluclay for the first time the other day. I love it. Can you link the recipe you use? Is it the one with a joint compound in it? Yep, it's the one. I can't remember her name, but it's the one with a joint compound. It's joint compound, linseed oil, toilet paper, and glue. So that recipe's on YouTube. Now, one of the other good things about having an armature like this is that if you are using something like a paper clay, if you don't have an armature, what's going to happen is it's not going to dry evenly, or it will dry only on the outside, and on the inside it will still be wet. And depending on where you live, if it's wet and it's like paper, then it can rot. So your piece, I did one piece and it smelled funky. We had to keep it out on the porch, and eventually I just threw it away because I couldn't take the stink. And so yeah, so the armature keeps that, so you're working in a thin layer that can be easily dried out, as opposed to having like a great big mass where you may or may not be able to dry out the center. So it's important that it's completely dry. Otherwise, you're going to have some mildew and mold kind of issues. Also, I don't really like the smell of the linseed oil and the joint compound and the glue. So one of my kind of life hacks to this is I put some vanilla extract and cinnamon into the mix, and it smells like cookies, like you're baking cookies. So Cornelius Pepperpot, who's recently sold, smelled like cookies when I was making him. And no wonder why all of the people, all of the cats were surrounding me while I was working on him, is because he smelled so good. So and also it's not, one of the nice things is it's not gonna degrade your clay. Somebody's like, why don't you put essential oils? Well, not all essential oils are created equally. So the problem with that, if you do that, is that some of the essential oils will actually break down and break down the fibers of the clay. So that's less than ideal when your goal is to make as sturdy of a product as you want. The other thing about that is sometimes those essential oils can cause the clay or the glue to curdle. And then you end up with a bunch of lumps. And if you're doing paper mache with like strips and stuff, you don't necessarily want a bunch of lumps. Oh, the other ingredient in that clay recipe is flour, as like a thickener, I'm guessing. And she has a whole bunch. I want to say her name's Joni, but a lot of those, there's a bunch of different recipes too. So she has one that's like an industrial one, and basically she just uses wood glue instead. And sometimes I think she's gotten rid of the boiled linseed oil in some of her recipes, but the boiled linseed oil is what has been used historically in paper mache making. They used to, like when they had Versailles, they had a competition of where they'd make a carriage out of paper, and um, you can laminate pieces of paper with linseed oil and glue and adhesive, and it's hard. It becomes super hard, and you can carry a person's full weight and be hooked to horses. So it's incredibly durable, which you don't always think about that when you think of paper mache. Like usually you think about it as being like, pinata time. So I'm adding a lot of tape, but if you are more mindful about how you're taping this, you can add very little bit of tape, and then just as you're working it, then you don't end up having a lot of weight. Now, the next step of this kind of bootleg armature is, depending on what I'm going to use this for, is I'm going to seed bead on top of it. And you're like, what? Because I've been seed beading, y'all. I got maybe like 100 pounds of seed beads the other day, and William tried to lift up the thing, and he's like, I think I got the hernia. And so yeah, I got a lot of seed beads. So Annie will probably be portioning those out soon, because I'm not going to do it. There's too many of them. But anyway, so this is going to be the armature, and depending on what you cases, is that the Jody who makes the animal mask? Yes. So this is what you can do is this, that make the armature. And then what I do is I don't I like it to be a certain, like if I'm going to be working on a green creature, I want this to be green, because if you have this, if you're doing circular brick stitch, you can see that blue in those little cracks and crevices. So if you don't want to see the blue, you adjust. I don't know. Michelle says that I'm an official seed beater. I don't know. I have been doing seed beating for at least since we've had this store open, but I was still not consider myself a seed beater. Even though I was like, I'm going to cover this skull in seed beads. And I totally did that. And I've done all these different things. I even made a bunch of components in seed beads. And I'm like, I'm not a seed beater, but I guess I am. Anyway, so if you don't want this peeking through this blue color, because this is a very specific blue, and may not be the thing that you want, then then I take Jess out and I mix the color in, and I put that and painted that. So this is the part that's taken forever. Now, one of the cool things is that if I need to sew into this, I can sew into it. It makes the needles kind of gross. So you kind of have to wipe your needles every once in a while if you're going to sew into it. One person I know, when they do stuff like this, they make their armature like this, and then they take a cloth, um, kind of like a cloth bandage that's self-adhesive, and then they cover the thing, and then they cut the the bandages, um, and then peel out the middle, and then they turn it inside out and stitch it up and then pull it. Basically, they're making a stuffed animal, and then they fill it with like a cotton batting to keep it lighter, even more light, and also to make it almost like a pincushion where you can sew into it. The painter's tape, you can sew into it, so it does make the needles a little bit crusty, so, or not crusty, kind of sticky. Oh boy. Barnaby wants to say hi to Cinnamon, and he's gonna make a mess. William, intervene.
What are you doing?
He's gonna
Walking on my computer.
he's gonna make a point. He wants to go outside. I know what he wants. Anyways, anyways, your needles can get kind of gooey. So I have a paper towel that I put a little bit of Goo Gone in, or actually, I sometimes, if I don't have Goo Gone, and I always have essential oil. So sometimes I take like an orange oil and dab that on there, and that helps take the sticky off of the needle as I'm working. So what this is brick stitch, and it conforms to the shape, and it's really good to use this with a bunch of different kinds of beads. It gets a little bit wonkadoodle, um, and a little bit crazy. But if anything sticks out too far and I don't like it, I can compress it a little bit as I'm working, and I can still shape it. So this is not the end. One of the other things you may have noticed that I've kept a pretty basic shape. And I've done this for a couple different reasons. One of the reasons is that when I'm seed beading, if it goes into the crevices, it gets real hard to do that. So the smoother the transition, the easier it is than to do a bunch of folds. You can do it. You can definitely 100% do it, but it's significantly harder than having an even kind of smooth curve. The other thing is that if I want to add more detailed like fingers and toes and things like that, or spines or different things like that, I can go and I can seed bead that or make something in polymer clay and glue it on and have the detail. I don't necessarily need the armature to be super detailed because the layer that I'm going to add on top is the main event. That's what people are going to look at. That's what people are going to see. So this can be really kind of primitive. I'm trying to get less detailed in my work, believe it or not. Um, I know. I got all the seed bead business. What the heck am I thinking? But a lot of the things I'm trying to go for a little bit less. Like, I don't know. I admire prims and I love like outsider art and things that are a little bit more simpler in their rendering or less complex in their rendering instead of like having to do like light and shadow and this and that and this and that and have like more, you know, cleaner silhouettes and I think sometimes it makes it cuter too. So anyways, I don't know what I showed these for. I had some kind of sculpting demo and I used these glass eyes and I don't know if we ever added those online, but yeah, so we have these glass eye beads and I just sewed them. I did circular brick stitch around them and then I sewed them into the sculpture. And the goal is I'm going to cover the whole thing in this kind of seed bead. And then if I have some daggers, I might take and layer some of the daggers and I can make some wings. And if I make things and I want them to be separate, like if I make stuff like wings, for example, or arms or different things like that. That's like a appendage. If I put it and work on like a steel wire or a rigid wire, and I build that form up, I can just stab it into here, and it can. You know, this is still soft. It's still hollow. The um, the aluminum foil will compress. So if I need to, I can do that and I can just glue it in with some E6000, like pull it out and then glue it in, and then it's not going to move anywhere. So there you go. We did 2 things today. Fast, rapid fire. We're only at an hour and a half, y'all. What? We did talk and everything. We made a pair of earrings. We talked about an armature. We made an armature. I started showing this new project. I've showed you finished up projects. Who am I? If only I was like this every day, right? I'm kind of annoying myself. I don't know. All right. Done now. No, it's like then the delirium crashes. Cases, that's going to be hard because you think your way through your craft and design process. And Kay says the bandage material, the plaster cloth. No, it's not because it's like a cloth bandage that's not a plaster cloth. The reason why you don't necessarily want to have a plaster cloth is because plaster cloth is rigid, and this is kind of like a material that they use. It's like a soft plush kind of material that has an adhesive on one side. And that is what they use to make stuffed animal patterns. So what a real stuffed animal pattern maker would do is they make this armature and then they cover in that bandage and then they cut the bandage apart and then that makes the pattern and then they cut that pattern out of a different cloth or fabric or whatever and then they sew that up and that's how you can do like sew or cut a pattern for like faux fur, which is not necessarily an ease. Like people like, how do you get it to do all these bends and stuff? And that's how they do. How they get all those bends and stuff is they use a pattern to cut their faux fur. Let me see if anybody else has any questions. Let me see. Sylvia says, looking forward to seeing that piece when you completed it. Me too. It does take a while. I don't know. If I have a good book on tape, I need to sit in a different chair though, because this wooden chair, I even put a pad on it, and it's like my butt keeps falling asleep. So that's less than ideal. But anyway, so yeah. So let me know if you have any questions. And Kay says it's plush like a minky material. I don't know what a minky material is, but if you look at plush cloth adhesive fabric, that might be it, or bandages. I know people cut it into strips and then use it like that. Cases, can you find out what that fabric is called? I want to try it out. I don't actually do that, so your Google is as good as mine. I would Google maybe stuffed animal pattern making, and it might come up, and then you'll get exactly the name of that. Or William, you can do it. Put an affiliate link on Amazon or something. I don't actually know the exact name because I don't actually do that kind of stuff. But yeah. Marianne says, "Is it nap time yet?" It's about. I'm feeling it. I want to stay up though until it's like a decent hour so that tomorrow, because usually before I go on a trip, I have this horrible, horrible tendency of staying up and not being able to go to sleep the night before a trip because I'm so excited to do whatever I'm going to do.
And you're very excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. But also, I'm driving by myself, so I don't want to be exasperated on the road and then like crying gently. And so Kay says that she can't Google. Very good. Yeah, you never know. I'm a wizard at Googling. It's like my special way of like asking a question in the most dumbest way that the most people have asked it so that it creates the best search result. And it's so weird because William, he thinks in more technical terms and he like the real way that you're supposed to ask questions. And then I'm like, what's that song where they talk about the rising water? And it's like a woman who sounds drunk. And then you look, and then they're like, oh, it's this artist by this person and this song. And then that comes up like that. So, anyways, you just have to kind of don't overthink it or something. All right. Marion says, just don't wait until midnight to have dinner. Well, we already have pre-made dinner because William ordered the subs and stuff from the nephew child. Correct. And my energon just dropped. So, anyways, I got my book on tape to finish. I'm listening to that book that we're doing for book club when women were dragons. I like it so far. But it's a little bit different than I thought it would be, but I still like it. So, anyways, thanks so much for watching. William will be back tomorrow. You're gonna be here tomorrow, William?
Yeah, I should be.
He's gonna be back tomorrow. I don't know what he's gonna show you. You're gonna show 2 projects and then show all the finished projects? No.
No.
He said no.
Sorry.
Maybe.
Sorry, y'all.
Maybe.
I'm not gonna do it.
Here, what is it? Tuesday tutorial with William? I'm like, no, this is my other job. All right. Have a great night. I'm sure that I will pop on Facebook and in my stories on Instagram. If you want to follow along my class experience, you can see that. You can see me fighting ninja style. Well, if I go to that graveyard in the nighttime reciting Annabelle Lee, then oh, 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 well, bye. See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Marianne says you can give us a longer view of your ceramics.
I can do that tomorrow.
You
That's
only
all
have
we'll
the
do.
3 of
I
them.
have the first 3 too. I'll just do a recap.
People be like, "That did I just see that
It'll be
same
the
thing?"
quickest Allegory Gallery live ever.
No,
Andrew says no.
no,
Not correct.
no. All right, see ya.